if you're mixing a light in your shots that doesn't have a gel on it, it just has the regular strobe, it's going to desaturate your colors, right? Here's an example. I'll leave my key light on, but I'm going to turn my ambient lights out. So I turned off the ambient lights around me and I had some sunlight coming in the windows, and you can see that the colors around me, behind me, the orange and the purple or pink, it's much more saturated. All right, so got this shot of Brie. I used some gels on my lighting. I had two rim lights with orange gels in them, like creative orange from the creative color gels that Autorama puts out for the Godox lights. So I had two 8300s doing the rim lights, and I had just like a purple gel, purple light pointing towards the backdrop to illuminate that. So I got orange and purple, and then I had a pink in my key light shining on her. If I was rating myself, I would say the rim light, especially like on the arm here, was too hot. And when you get them too hot, hot meaning too powerful, right? I had it turned up too high. It will desaturate your colors. So that was a little bit high. And you know, the key light was fine. I just didn't get a lot of saturation, but in retrospect, I don't know if I really like the pink that much. I may, desaturate the pink on her skin because it just makes her look too pink, right? But I do like the orange, the way that it's hitting here. To me, this looks better on the leg, on the thigh right here and right here on the back of the leg. It's nice and soft and it's saturated a little bit more. And I mean, you can in post bring up the saturation, in Lightroom of the colors and bring them back a little bit. But if you want to do that, target it a little bit better, say in Photoshop, you can. And one thing I was playing around with earlier was actually look at the floor here. There's where the rim lights were hitting, there's a little bit of orange, but it's kind of just desaturated and dull and gray looking, right? So maybe I just let's isolate her first. So we'll choose the quick selection tool, this one right here, and that'll bring up the select subject button up here. And let's just get a selection of her, and then we'll invert it and select just the background. So we got a decent selection of her. I'm going to right click on that and select inverse. So now just the background is selected, right? I'm going to create a curves layer just because I like to do this. It kind of creates a mask, and it holds that selection for me in a mask. There's different ways to do that, but if I right click on that mask, I can choose add mask to selection, and selection comes right back. And I may use this curves layer to maybe boost some saturation and some different colors later if I want to in the background. But for now, I'm just going to use it to hold my mask and my selection. So I'm going to create a new blank layer. And when I created that curves, it was just right here, this adjustment layer, curves, right? Okay. So then I came back and I created a new blank layer just by hitting the plus, just like that. I'm going to hit Control Z because I only need one. Control Z is undo. So I've got just the background selected, and maybe I come over to the paintbrush tool. And here's a tip before we get going. You see me in my video. You see how everything is a little bit desaturated. Well, let me go turn out some lights around. Now, if you have a key light that's using a white light, this is a very good example. Like the key light on me is using a white light, so it's going to desaturate those colors. So if you're mixing a light in your shots that doesn't have a gel on it, it just has the regular strobe, it's going to desaturate your colors, right? Here's an example. I'll leave my key light on, but I'm going to turn my ambient lights out because they're on. So I turned off the ambient lights around me, and I had some sunlight coming in the windows, and you can see that the colors around me, behind me, the orange and the purple or pink, it's much more saturated now, right? I still have this key light on, which is a white light, just so you can see me, but you can see the ambient now is a little bit more saturated, right? It's a very good example of how just a white light will desaturate your colors. So keep that in mind when you're shooting in the studio, the same principle applies. Okay, so back to the edit. I'm going to grab my paintbrush right here, and I have the color selected because I already did this edit one time, but that's what made me think of doing this video. But I'm going to select, I want to saturate this floor a little bit more because, like I said, it looks a little dull. So I'm going to hold down the Alter option, which brings the dropper tool up, and I'm going to select that orange right there. You see that? And if you look in your primary color here, it loaded up that orange. I'm going to set my flow at like, I will do like 10%. I think I did 20 last time. It seemed a little hot, but it worked. And selection, very important. Remember, I got this selection by clicking on the mask right here and choosing, right-clicking and choosing Add Mask to Selection. So I just have this background selected. So I'm going to use my right bracket key, which is next to the P key, right and left. And the right will make it larger and the left will make it smaller. Right? I'm going to get to a large one here. And I'm just going to, I'm going to move me out of the way here just a little bit. I'm going to just brush right across. Now make sure you're on the blank layer. So if you selected the mask, make sure you're up here on this layer, okay? And I'm just going to brush across here, and it's not going to brush into her leg. Why? Because I don't have her selected. I just have the background selected. So I'm going to swipe across. You see that? Just like that. So now I have this, do about 3 times, this orange brush swiping across here. And you notice it's very soft. So if you come up here, I'm using a soft round brush with my hardness set to 0%. Okay. But that's, you know, it looks like I just painted across there with a brush. But let's set the blend mode, which is right here. Right now it's set to normal of this layer. Set the blend mode to color. Now it looks a lot better, right? It looks like I had a gel come in there and kind of a strobe with the gel saturated that floor. Now you could come up here. I'm just going to, you can hit Control D. That will deselect everything. You can apply this same thing now that I've got this color set on the layer. If I come up here and say I like the way that orange, and this was, I didn't do this, this is the way the light hit. I like the way that is, but it stops right here. Maybe I want it to continue up there into her hair a little bit more. Left bracket to resize that brush. Where is it? We don't have the brush selected. There it is. I can come up here and maybe just brush some of that orange right up here too, right? And it looks very natural, right? And maybe I want some over there. I don't know, it might be overkill, but we'll try it, you know, a little bit there. So we got some orange. Now maybe I want to saturate her arms a little bit more. Come in here. These are, like I say, I got a little bit hot here on the lighting and it desaturated it. So you got to be really careful with your lighting when you're doing it that way. But maybe I want to paint a little more orange in here on her. It got saturated pretty well over. I think this light on this side was set a little better than this one. I don't know if this one was too close. I thought they were set at the same power, but it is what it is. I'm happy with the saturation here. Like I said, I like the way that looked. So that's pretty good right there. So we might want to make sure you have the layer, bring the opacity back just a little bit. It might be a little too strong, but something like that. So now we've kind of saturated the floor there with some color, a little bit on our arms. I might not have right there, might not have, I don't know if I like that there, but it is what it is. It's just an example of what you can do. Now I could also do a hue saturation, right? And I can copy this mask that I had from down here by holding down Control Option or Control Alt, grab the mask and just copy it up here and lay it on top of that one. And now my hue saturation, I will just, whatever I do here, I'm going to bring it all the way up. It's just impacting the background, not her. A little bit in the hair, but so maybe I want to boost the saturation of just the background. I can, bringing it up to like 13 or 14, and that looks pretty cool, right? So that's just another way to boost the saturation of the shot overall. And I'm pretty happy with that. So notice it was kind of a happy accident, but the colors in the photo are kind of like the colors in my video, right? So anyway, if you guys like this suggestion and you like this kind of content, give it a like. Consider giving me a subscribe. And if you're still watching, I appreciate you as always. Have a good one.